What would you say made you stand out in the role that you got?
I don't know. Okay, so for me, what made me stand out was two things. Firstly, I asked my friends, listen, you're in this company, how can I enter? So the guy briefed me well. He said, okay, this is how you prepare for the interview, Okay. When they ask this question, do this, do this. He also recommended me. So when he recommended me, my application also came to the top. Okay. So those are the things that made me stand out.
Excellent, thank you. You're welcome to take 2 gifts, please. Okay, yes, sir, just 2. Okay, let's quickly talk about CVs, right? Because besides from what our 3 young people have said in relation to their personalities, it actually starts off with your CV. All right, it actually starts off with how well your CV is put together, how clean it is, how it is presented, and lastly, competency. But first of all, it's your CV, okay? Your CV presentation. Okay, let me just a hint. As an interviewer and as a manager, and I've consulted with a couple of managers before I can actually say this, before we call you for an interview, the first thing we look at is your CV. Okay? Yes, you might say, yeah, obviously, your CV. But just remember, your CV is actually a Latin word. If you look up the history of the word CV, curriculum vitae is a Latin word that means, or rather translates into letter of introduction. So this is how you introduce yourself to us, the interviewer, the manager, the company, the corporate body. It is your letter of introduction, okay? So what are the things that needs to be in the letter, your letter of introduction, okay? The format. The first thing we're going to talk about is your format, okay? PDF format will always trample over Word. Hear it from me. That's the first thing that we look at. The format in which you present your CV is very, very important. Why would you say that is important? Why would you submit your CV in Word versus in PDF? Why would you submit it in Word versus PDF? Which one would you choose? Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Thank you. I would prefer my CV in Word. That's because it's not editable in a way. PDF. Oh, sorry.
I asked that, yes, because I wanted to see if you're listening.
Yes.
But great, yes, in PDF.
It's not editable. No, like you open it to view, to see the contents, and you exit. That's it.
Correct. When you submit, you can take 2 gifts. When you submit your PDF in Word, you are not guaranteed that the way it is submitted is how the receiver will get it. The layout changes. The layout and your format changes. So as I said earlier, PDF will always trample Word. So make sure that your CV is actually in PDF. Next thing is a well-organized CV with dated history. Well-organized CV with dated history. That is the thing that we look out for. Okay, as interviewers, as managers, even HR personnel, I've consulted with them. That is what they look out for before we can even call you for the interview. If your CV is well-organized with dated history, and when I say dated history, I mean, we don't want to be guessing where you were at in a specific year. Okay, 2021 to 2022, you were working for Nedbank. And then 2023, July, you were working for FMB. But what happened in between? What were you doing? So if your CV is not well dated, trust me, guys, take it from me, they're not going to look at it. The next thing should be well detailed. Well detailed, which comes to my next point in relation to a CV versus a resume. Very, very important. A CV versus a resume. An instance where you will be required to submit your resume will be things like, for example, if you want to do a learnership or VAC work. But if you're submitting for a corporate role, a big role in a corporate company, you'll be required to submit your CV. And what's the difference between the two of them is the detail. A resume, very important that you need to understand this, okay? A resume is a document where it has your history, but it's summarized on one page. Those kind of things you can, as I said, you can submit for like VAC work. But if you're applying for a role that is in a corporate company, as I said, very much specialized, a CV would be required. So take it from me. If you submit a resume for a CV required role or job, if I may say, your CV will not be looked at. Very important that you're able to differentiate between the two. The two is the detailing. Okay? Next thing, schematic flow of information. As I said earlier, the interviewer does not want to guess where you were at in a specific year. If you're able to detail your information, your personal information, your academic information, all your accolades in a well-schematic flow, it is most likely going to be considered. Remember that. The next thing is a picture of the candidate. So this one is optional, okay? As interviewers, as managers, and you know the funny thing is, I am currently in the role where, not currently in the role, but in our hospital, in our organization where I work at, there's 5 vacancies, okay? So I am currently looking at thousands of CVs. There are some with pictures of themselves, some with no pictures, okay? That is optional. You have the option to put that. However, if you decide that you want to put a picture of yourself on your CV, number one, it needs to be well pixelated. So it needs to be a clear picture, okay? It needs to be you in professional attire. Remember that, okay? That is something the interviewer is looking at. If you decide to put a picture, you can't have a picture of you in casual clothes. The interviewer already from that stage will not take you seriously. I'm being honest. And then the last thing, if you're going to choose a picture, it needs to be in well-illuminated background. Very important. Your picture should not be blurry. Okay. Things to avoid. Okay. Excess use of color. Excess use of color. Obviously, that is dependent on the role you're applying for. Okay, so let's say, for example, if you're applying for a preschool teacher, I mean, your CV can have butterflies and flowers, okay? But if you're applying to be the second in charge of Standard Bank, I mean, think about it. Okay, it is dependent on the role. If you decide to have color on your CV, make sure it's neutral. One shade color, if possible, okay? But the excess use of color, take it from me, guys. The interviewer, our HR people, they will not even send it to me, okay, as the manager. All right? Another thing that you must avoid, please, comical backgrounds. Comical backgrounds, using logos of the company or using coat of arms on your CV, avoid that, please. Our HR is laughing. She knows what I'm talking about. Avoid that, please, guys. Okay. Okay, if we do have any questions, I do know that the question and answer session is afterwards, so just hold on to your questions, please, all right? Okay, the next thing we want to discuss is interview preparedness, okay? Take it from me, guys. If an interviewer or a manager or an HR personnel calls you for an interview, that means you have done something very good with your CV. Okay, as I said, your CV is your letter of introduction. You have introduced yourself excellently, okay? Don't drop the ball, if I may say. You have put in the efforts to put together your CV. You have put the efforts to go and look for the job. Okay, you've gone onto the websites, recruitment companies, LinkedIn, all those platforms. You have done that effort. Don't drop the ball. And when I say drop the ball, I mean in the interview process, in the interview stage. Okay? Some things just to consider. The first being, when you called for the interview, sound expectant. And I say expectant, meaning you are aware. Being aware, meaning you applied for the job, so you are hoping that you will get called. Now you get called for the interview, and you sound like we are disturbing your day. Trust me, we have experienced that. So please, sound expectant. Hi, am I speaking to Samantha? Yes, you're speaking to Samantha. How can I help you? We have gotten that. Automatically, take it from me, the interviewer, the HR personnel, the manager, when we see you for that interview, the chances of you getting that role is very slim. Yes, I say that because I have made out the time to scrutinize your CV, okay? For roles, we get thousands of people apply. We go through the process of looking through your CV, making sure everything's fine, competency and all of that. And now we invite you for an interview, and you make the interviewer seem as if we are wasting your time. When we see you, and I'm not saying this like personally, I'm saying this because I've interacted with other managers that have said the same thing. Like when you now meet the person, your expectations are cut short. And that's the sad part. Okay, so number one, sound expectant, all right? The second being, never show what you don't like doing. Never speak on what you don't like doing. Okay, in the interview process, we have called you for the interview. You have showed competency. However, you are asked a question and you are unfortunately highlighting that you don't like doing that role. You know what it shows to the interviewer, or rather to the hiring manager, is that your performance is going to drop. I'll give you an example in the pharmaceutical field, okay? At Netcare, we procure medication, okay? Procure meaning that we purchase medication, right? We purchase medication from the big pharmaceutical companies, so your Aspen, your Adcock, all those big companies. So what we do that we buy it, okay? Make medication available for our patients, for administration, for treatment and all of that. So in our hospital, we procure medication in thousands because it's a big hospital. We procure in thousands. Tons of stock comes into the hospital, and now we have to unpack it, okay? Unpacking of stock is a task that most of us don't like. However, it is not role specific. So even I myself as a manager, till as young as the first employee, you get what I mean? Like the youngest, the baby of the group, we all have to unpack stock, okay? Unpacking stock can be tedious. You need to check the stock, make sure that it's not expired, because obviously we don't want to give our patients expired medication. Make sure that it is still in good shape. The companies have not, the delivery company have not bashed it or something like that, right? Make sure that it's stable, if I may say. And then how many we received, we need to double check it with the invoice. So it's tedious, okay? No one likes doing it. Now, I'm giving this example because I had this said to me by one of the candidates that I'm interviewing, one of our candidates. She showed competency in everything that was required of her. However, she was like, oh no, Ijeoma, I don't like unpacking stock, but I will do it. But it's not something that I actually fancy doing. I was like, okay. Then she emphasized again that, but I will do it. Automatically, it shows me that your performance, when I bring you onto the team, is going to drop. And that's going to affect my team. Okay? Yes, we don't like doing certain tasks in the company. You know, deadlines are coming. Auditing company, like my older sister is an accountant, right? So I know around this period, financial year end or whatever they call it, there's audits that needs to be done back to back. You know, it's tedious, but it comes with the role. Now you come for an interview and you tell me that you don't like that. Yeah, me bringing you onto the team is very slim. As opposed to you saying that you don't like it, rather say, my competency is in that, is something I'm working on. Now it shows the interviewer, it shows the manager that, okay, yes, there's a shortfall here, but she's willing to work on it. She may not like it, but she's willing to work on it. Remember that, please. Okay. Another thing that you need to remember is don't backlash your current employer. We have seen it. We have seen it. Don't backlash your current employer. Do you know what it does? It shows that you come onto the team, and when you leave, the chance of you doing the same to me is high. Okay? As I said earlier, deadlines are tight, to-do lists are long, things are due, tasks are due, we need to view reports and all of that, okay? Pressure comes from the higher up, and it goes down, migrates down, all right? The pressure will come to you, but now you use that against the employer, knowing fully well that we have targets to meet. You come onto the interview and then you backlash your current employer. Trust me, you're not going to go far in that interview. It's sad, but it happens. So that's why I said, let me say all of these things, because should we not share it, should platforms like this not be available, we wouldn't know what is acceptable and what is not. Okay? The next thing in an interview, be able to show how the company or organization's values fits into your personal brand. Okay, I'm not going to go into detail of nitty-gritties of interviews because everyone's roles are different. You know, we are in different career paths, if I may say. Okay, so you know what suits you. However, in answering the questions that are asked to you, try and fit the company's values into your personal brand. I'll give you an example with myself. I work for Netcare, okay? Netcare is big on caring for patients. It's everywhere. They care for patients. It fits in my brand because I am someone that also enjoys caring for patients. That is what I started off before I went into management, okay? So if you are able to show how the company's values, finance, how they strive for their employees, or you know, all those fancy things that they say, if you are able to show that their values fit into your values and your personal brand, it gives you brownie points. So remember that, okay? Okay, did I leave anything else? The last thing, okay, I knew I will run out of time. But the last thing that I want to share with you guys is aimed at changing your mindset towards employment in the country. Okay? Employment in the country, or employment when and if you migrate out of the country. All right? We encounter a lot of young professionals whom are risk takers. Okay? Risk takers, and taking risk is a risk, yes. But how else would you stand out next to your peer? The next segment that I am about to discuss with you, which is the last one, unfortunately, is called Breaking the Myths and Stereotypes. Breaking the myths and stereotypes. If we are able to break the myths and stereotypes, we're able to break protocol. I have encountered a lot of young professionals in my career where a lot of them are very successful. You know, I'm privileged enough to have in my space and in my group people that strive for the best. And when I say for the best, I mean like high up there, you know, in their 20s, pursuing PhDs. And most of them, when I speak to them, they have more or less the same answer related to, we took the risk. We took the risk. We tried. We saw an opportunity and we took it. What does it do for you? It makes you stand out, if I'm being honest. It shows that you're able to persevere. It helps with your competency, okay? Taking the risk. I want to go through specific myths that I have seen and stereotypes in the employment sector that people see as hindrances. But if you're able to identify it as an opportunity for you, it can actually work for you. The first one being roles are gender specific. I mean, we have engineers that the engineering sector rather is now female dominated. Okay? We have male nurses. You know, that myth of roles are now gender specific. Once you're able to break that, you're able to break protocol. Roles are now age specific. Guys, please, let's do away with that. Our young, I don't know where she is, that spoke about how she's young and hence she's not being heard. Please break away from that. Okay, as I said, I used myself an example. I'm still in my 20s and I was competing with people that were in their 40s. Nowadays, roles are not age specific. What makes you stand out is your competency, is your perseverance, is how you present yourself. Are you teachable? Are you willing to learn? Are you able to try? Are you willing to take the sacrifice, to make that sacrifice, to take the risk? It's no longer age. So let's break that myth, all right? The next myth I want to highlight is time is running out. No such thing anymore. In the employment sector, in your career trajectory, time is running out is what you put on yourself. You know, the Bible talks in Ephesians talks about there's a time for everything, there's a time for this and time for that. You know, it's long. There is a time for everything. And if the Holy Spirit has said your time is now, then it is now. The next myth I want to talk about is your degree guarantees and is subjected to a specific career path. It's not. The time for that has gone. Your degree does not determine where your career trajectory. I mean, we have people with marketing degrees that are working in pharmaceutics. We have people with pharmacy degrees that are working in marketing and finance. You know, we have people with marketing degrees that are working in content creation. Think about that. The next myth I want us to break is years of experience. As much as it looks nice on your CV, but it's actually not considered. Yeah. It gives you points, right? However, if you are applying for the same role with the gentleman next to you and you have 5 years, okay? 5 years, but you're unable to show that you are growing. And he only has 3 years, okay? And he has a diploma in this and a diploma in that, and he's showing that he's actually he has tried in the 3 years, he will be considered more than you. It is actually a myth. It no longer works. Do you want to say something? Okay.
Like an open bracket. Arigato, thank you. What indicates the growth? Will it be like maybe the short courses he's done in between and?
Definitely short courses, okay? You can be working in a specific role for 5 years. There's no show of growth. No extra, not really extra mile, but you're unable to show that you have grown in your role. You have been a pharmacist for 5 years, right? And another pharmacist applies to become the senior pharmacist, and he's able to show that I have taken a short course on antibiotics. I have shadowed my manager, okay? I have, what other examples? If you're able to show that you're willing to take the risk, as opposed to the person that has been in that role for 5 years, that person will be considered more than you. Of course. Oh, definitely. It comes with the certificate, right? Of course. Yes, sir. Okay, after. No, it's fine. All right, the next myth I want us to discuss is your friend is a block to your breakthrough. Let's reference, I was looking at the book of 1 Samuel chapter 19, where the Bible talks about Jonathan, Jonathan, Saul's son, giving David information that was very vital. Be the Jonathan in your group. When I say be the Jonathan in your group, if you have vital information for your neighbor, and you can see that your neighbor is striving and pushing and going the extra mile, but has a bit of hindrances, and you have the key that can break that hindrance, help a friend. It's a myth now, and I say it's a myth because it still exists, actually, sadly, but we need to talk about it so that it stops becoming a myth or stops being a myth. Okay, remember to be the Jonathan for your friend. Yes, it can be competition, okay, healthy, hoping it's healthy competition. But if you have something that can benefit the other and you can see that he or she is going the extra mile and actually trying, be the Jonathan. All right. The next myth I want us to discuss, which is the last one, is needing to meet 100% of the job's requirements. It's a myth, guys. It's actually, if you have 50%, we will take you. Sincerely speaking. If you have 50%, you are considered. And I say this knowing fully well that I have spoken to my seniors, because I'm still starting. If you have 70% of the requirements, you will be considered for the role, provided that you're willing to show that you are able to grow or will be able to grow. You will be considered. All right. With all of these myths and stereotypes, I've gone over. With all of these myths and stereotypes, I pray the Holy Spirit helps you to break these myths so that you're able to break protocol for your sake. In the name of Jesus, amen.